and Mitchell and I both had an opportunity last month to briefly speak, and the opportunity for that to get long form, although 15 minutes is not my long form. My long form is more like 2 hours, but I promise I will not go that long. I'll begin by saying, Vinon, you mentioned that Ben wasn't here, so there's no sign-in sheet. I can help. If you go to my ActBlue account and make a donation, I will forward the list to corporate needs that will help out. So, I'm Jeff Pixley, and I'm not supposed to be here right now. I'm supposed to be on campus right now, teaching future Air Force officers what it is to uphold our Constitution, what it is to sacrifice for our country, what leadership, authority, and responsibility are. What I'm supposed to be doing right now is being on that campus and training the next generation of officers to take my place in my beloved Air Force. And the reason I'm not there right now is because our government and the people who were supposed to represent us in Washington, D.C. have failed to uphold their oaths of office. And it forced me to leave. In February of 2025, just a few months ago, the President of the United States fired the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General C.Q. Brown. And he fired Admiral Lisa Frenchetti from Grand Navy. And most alarmingly, he fired the lawyers on top of the Free Military Services, whose job it was to make sure that the orders that came down to colonels and below were constitutionally aligned, lawful, and proper. The minute I read that news on Saturday morning, February 15th, I realized I was at the crossroads. And I could no longer stand by on the sidelines, mute while in uniform, while our country was undermined and while our men and women in uniform were placed in harm's way. When I made that decision to retire that Saturday morning, I had thought through some of the potential downsides of what these decisions would mean for our country and for our service members and for the trust the American people have in their government. I wasn't even close to accurate of how bad it was. I wildly underestimated the swiftness and the brutality of these changes that were enabled by folks in Washington, D.C., whose job it is, as a co-equal branch of government, to ensure that our Constitution is upheld, to ensure that we don't violate the rights of our citizens for promises of a magical security environment that is a fantasy under pretty much all circumstances. So I decided to retire, and my first thought was, how do I make a difference? My first thought was not running for office. I've never been a politically minded person, although I've always voted Democrat. I'm not a Democratic operative. What I tell folks is I am in the party, but not of the party. My first thought was, how do I help them win? And luckily, I live in Norman, so I'm incredibly well represented up the chain with our folks who represent me in the State House and the State Senate, great folks who share my values. The first real gap I saw was in Congress. So I said, okay, how am I going to help someone beat Tom Cole or Mark McMullen? And when I looked at the last few elections, I realized that the truth is there hasn't been a serious, credible contender against Tom Cole in decades. Not even close. And that doesn't mean the people that ran were not good people, but they didn't have the backing, the drive, the energy, or the voice that we need to unseat someone who is entrenched, has unlimited funds, and has achieved a level of power in government that means people from across the country are at his door asking for favors from him. That's an incredibly powerful position, and we can't phone in an election to unseat that. So I decided I was going to be the one to throw my hat in the ring, which sounded crazy to me. So I asked my friends, am I crazy for doing this? And they said, yes, you are. You should do it anyway. And every morning since I made that decision, I woke up fired up. Now, the first 200 days I was still in active duty, and I had to be quiet. I had to be silent because active duty members are not meant to be political, and that's a good rule. it was frustrating because that means I just had to be silent while these terrible things happened and continue to serve under an administration who didn't value me or my oath of office, and certainly didn't value the men and women in uniform who were slapped in the face in Quantico on the 30th of September. Every African American general officer, every woman leader in our DOD was slapped in the face. But finally, September 1st came, and I was able to announce my campaign. The day I retired is the day I filed, and for the last 67 days, I woke up every morning fired up about doing this. And I'm fired up about doing this going back to my oath of office. When I was just barely 17, on October 16th of 1989, I took my first oath of the Constitution of the United States as I delayed enlisted in the Air Force. And and I'll be honest with you, the first time I took that oath, I didn't really understand what it meant. Most 17-year-olds don't. But in the 35 years that passed between my first and my last oath of office, I took that oath another 9 times. Each time it became more and more important to me. And as I think back on my career and contemplate the sacrifices that I personally made to uphold that oath, and think about the sacrifices my wife made to support me for 34 years as a military spouse, and the sacrifices my children made with an absent father in combat zones or spending time overseas, it is offensive to me that we have people in government who don't uphold their oath of office. My family has given too much for them to ignore their oath for their own either political power or monetary gain or whatever is driving those decisions. And I'm one of the lucky ones. Because my career was an amazing career where those sacrifices, while real, were nothing compared to those who lost their lives and gave their lives during the years I was in the Air Force. From the First Gulf War through every intervening conflict, my friends that I lost in combat and their families will never have a father or mother again, I know they're deeply offended. So I wake up every morning not thinking about how does Jeff Pixley become this powerful congressman. I wake up every morning asking myself, how does Jeff Pixley contribute to fixing the system that I love and I swore my life to? For us, for them, for my grandchildren, for your great-grandchildren and beyond. We owe them this. So I'm going to talk, so that's the drive. I'm going to talk for a second about the elephant in the room. Or actually, maybe the elephant that's not in the room. In my 67 days of campaigning, the interactions I've had with voters, potential voters, across the political spectrum have been broadly positive. Among Democrats, enthusiastic, like, oh, thank God you're running, is the response I get most often. The second response I almost always get is, but can we beat them? How can we possibly win? I'm telling you right now, we can win. We Democrats in the 4th District can win. Whether that's me or Mitchell, we are going to beat Tom Cole in 2026. Number one, the mood in this country is shifting. What happened on Tuesday in Virginia and New Jersey and New York and Detroit, it tells us that the American people have finally, the mirage has been broken and understand the danger that we're facing. And whether that's pocketbook issues or culture wars become less important, it doesn't matter. The momentum is with us. Here in Oklahoma, that exists, but we are so isolated from those coastal peripheries of our country, these political winds. We need to activate. This is why this group being full is so inspiring to me. What we need to do over the next 200 days before our primary, and certainly the next 360 days before the campaign, is we need to start talking like winners. We need to stop saying things like Tom Cole's seat. It is not his seat, it's your seat. And we're going to take it back. We need to stop thinking of Oklahoma as this irreparably deep red state. Yes, this is a Republican-leading state. But if we campaign eye to eye with people and genuinely talk to them and come at them with a sense of just being who we are and not pretending to be something else, and say that what I care about are mostly things you care about, and let's focus on those things in the center of the Venn diagram that matter to all of us and tackle those in order. First things first, let's stop the bleeding. Let's repair the damage to our government. Let's rebuild some of the structures that have been broken. And let's fill some of the gaps, undo some of the loopholes, allow scoundrels to go to our government and enrich themselves and to entrench themselves permanently. We all benefit from that. So as I campaign, I'm going to go to every county. I'm going to go to every small room. I'll go into living rooms. I'm going to go into restaurants. I'm going to talk to people who look at me as a Democrat and they recoil when they hear I'm a Democrat. If you go to my website, which I recommend you do, you'll see the word Democrat is not on there. That's not because I'm not proud to be a Democrat. I'm damn proud to be a Democrat. It's because of this current political climate. I believe that connecting with someone on a human level and them understanding my story, what drives me, the things I'm passionate about, the things I care about, that I think they care about too, if you do that first, it'll be much easier for them to swallow the Democratic Party. It's not going to be universal, but I've seen it already. I've had amazing conversations with folks that otherwise would have walked away if I led with I'm a Democrat. So what am I asking for the folks in this crowd? I know we'll do Q&A in a second, but here's what I need from you. I knew you were going to say he's going to ask for money. That's not the first thing to say. I'm going to say that. I'm not going to say it first. What I need you to do is take this passion you bring to meetings like this and take it out of this room in this building. And every intervening day that you miss the next cornbread meetings, go be active in some way, whether it's volunteering on my campaign or Mitchell's campaign or one of the amazing folks that are campaigning for state house seats, Chris May down in Noble, Chris Fowler up in Oklahoma City. Go be active. Not just because we need your help, we definitely need your help, but because the reputation of the Democratic Party in this state is terrible. And part of that is because we've hidden away. We get to the point where I would say we were ashamed of it, we fear the awkward social interactions. Those days have to be over. We have to be bold, we have to get out there, and when we talk about being a Democrat, talk about being a proud Democrat, and say, here's how we can help change history. Oklahoma is going to flip, we're going to flip this seat. And if the redistricting nonsense that Republicans are trying across the country works out, there's a real world where Mitch or I can be in Congress, not as part of the blue wave. But I think a blue wave is coming. I don't think they can overtake us. And what we need to do in this country is too important for us to sit back. So it's going to be a long 200 days, or now 350 days until the election. It will be time well spent. I fear if we don't do it, the damage that's being done will become permanent. And I don't want that. I can't stand for that, and I won't rest on it. So thank you for inviting me to be here. I appreciate your time. I know that was less than 15 minutes, but I would rather answer questions than just give a big speech. So thank you very much for your time. I enjoyed talking.